Greetings, everyone! My name is Jonathan Bailey, and I'm from the website Plagiarism Today, which can be found at plagiarismtoday.com. Happy Friday, everyone! Hope your Friday is going well. Hope you are getting everything you want and looking forward to your weekend. Merry Christmas and all the other holidays, too, I guess. Usually on Friday, I like to talk about tech news, browsers, email, things like that I'm passionate about outside of copyright and plagiarism. But I've been trying to kind of revamp what I do with this vlog a little bit. I mean, I'm still just me talking, but I'm trying to talk about things I'm particularly passionate about, the things that are filling my head, wasting my CPU cycles. Basically, it's now a cheaper substitute for therapy, is what this has become, which is fine. Hopefully, it's at least entertaining to some people. I've given up on trying to figure out what YouTube wants, so I'm just going to do what I want, and whoever watches it, watches it. But I want to talk about an ethical quandary that's been in my brain lately. And usually on matters of copyright and ethics, when it comes to matters of copyright, I usually don't talk about ethics. And the reason is, we've all got different views and different ideas, and it doesn't make us bad people. We're just coming at it from different angles and different backgrounds. At least with the law, even though the law is fungible and we can disagree on it and blah, 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 at least we have a common code we can go back to. With ethics, everyone's working from different paperwork. So I try not to think or talk too much about ethics and try to stick on the facts and let people draw their own conclusions. But that being said, interesting ethical quandary came up. It was in the 3Count yesterday, Thursday, and I'm going to be putting a link to both the original article and to my 3Count entry in the description. So check those out if you haven't. And it involves the country of Guyana. And Guyana, for those who don't know, is a small South American nation just north of Brazil, right there on the coast, beautiful coastline apparently, that found itself in sort of the center of a copyright controversy in recent weeks, I guess you would say. What happened here is that Guyana, for the record, we should be clear, Guyana is not the wealthiest nation. I'm trying to put this gently and politely. They're not the wealthiest nation. I don't know too much about their government or their history or anything about Guyana other than it exists. I think everything I learned about Guyana in school involved just finding it on a map. So bear with me here as I'm having to base everything on a quick glance at Wikipedia and the CIA World Factbook. But not the wealthiest country. And they put out a bid recently for textbooks. And what they did was very, I don't know how uncommon this is. I suspect it's more common than just Guyana. But what they did is they put out a request for companies to make high-quality copies of an original. Of all the different books. And basically the idea is, we've got these originals, we want you to print the copies of and manufacture and make them look good. We don't want no, in fact they actually said no lamby-pamby copies. We don't want no lamby-pamby pirated copies, we want real copies. But they don't want licensed or authorized ones. They're not paying for that. They're just wanting unauthorized, i.e. pirated copies of these books. And then basically the government of Guyana is intentionally participating in piracy, and that creates a real problem for me. That's an ethical quandary, and it takes a lot of the stuff I'm very passionate about and kind of, puts it in a fist fight with each other. Because first, I am incredibly passionate about books. I love books. I really support books. I am doubly passionate about books whenever they are in the hands of children, and I am triply passionate about them when they are in the hands of children in classrooms to be studied and learned from, and that the kids can do awesome things with. I love that, and I want these kids to have books, no matter the outcome of the quandary, no matter the outcome of copyright. I want them to have the books. I want them to have these books. I want them to have other books. I want them to have so many books they are swimming in a sea of books. Books, books, books. I just want them to have books. I don't care if it's on a Kindle, an iPad, or Dead Tree. I want them to have books. But the flip side of the coin is I am also a writer. I'm also a content producer, and I know that textbooks don't magically appear filled. It's not like you just leave a book on a desk, stick it somewhere, and then you go away for a month, and boom, the textbook elves have written it for you. It costs a lot of money to fill the pages of a textbook. You first got to find some expert or group of experts to sit around and write the content for this book and probably dedicate a year or more of their lives to it, a significant portion of it. of their lives at least to it. Then you've got to find photographers or license images to fill the pages of the book, and then you got to hire artists or license artwork for it. Then you've got to have designers come and make it all pretty, and then you got to have editors write the text. I'm doing this out of order, by the way. I know this is not how a textbook is actually done. I'm just rambling here. You've got to have fact checkers go through and check all the various facts. You've got to have all of this done, and it doesn't even start on the marketing, the promotion, the distribution, all the other stuff that has to be done. And if it's going to go to other countries, it's got to be translated, and there's probably going to be modified versions. You've got negotiators, you've got all this stuff that goes into a book, and nearly all of it goes into the book without a guarantee it's going to sell a single copy. I mean, the textbook business, if no school district or country or college decides, hey, that's the book we want to use, you're not going to sell any textbooks. And it's very likely that your textbook is either going to sell next to nothing or absolutely nothing. It's a risk you have to take when you're in the textbook industry. And I understand, college students, like right at this time of the year, are in line buying textbooks. They get very frustrated because they're paying $500 for books they're probably only going to crack once or twice. It's very frustrating, I get it, but a lot of that is they are financing the books that didn't sell, and they're also financing Guyana and countries like it that are making copies of the books without feeding money back into the system, and that's the problem. If the Guyanas of the world don't put money back into the textbooks, then someone else has to, and those costs get shifted to other countries and other school districts and other college students and other people that do actually pay for them. But the flip side of the coin is I want the kids to have books. I am not a heartless, cruel individual that puts copyright above all other ethics. I mean, if you're going to die, I think it's perfectly, if you're in danger of your life, it's perfectly acceptable to pirate whatever content might save it. I'm not, some guy that is going to believe in copyright to his death. That's ridiculous. Obviously there are higher ethics and higher morals here, but where does it end? I mean, do you say, okay, Guyana, perfectly okay, go ahead, pirate those textbooks, have fun, Godspeed, save the children, that's an investment in our future. Well, then what about the college student in the United States who just simply can't afford $500? Is it okay for him to pirate the textbooks? What about that family, that relatively poor family that maybe doesn't have enough money to buy DVDs? Is it okay for them to pirate them, even though maybe they could get Netflix or they could do something else? Where do you draw the line? When is it acceptable to pirate something? When should you have to do without? You could say, well, movies and entertainment, that's not essential for life. This is education. But education is not essential for life either. That college student could drop out of college and dig ditches. He could, feed his family, doing menial labor. But I think the world is a better place if he does go to school and if he does become a better, more educated, and more fulfilled person. So that's the convoluted problem here. Those children in Guyana, going back to the original source here, is it ethically okay? And this is, by the way, this was the actual justification the government used. That ethically, it was better for them to pirate the books than for the children to go without textbooks. That's literally their explanation for it. They said that if they didn't pirate them, if they got them legitimately, they would only have one set per classroom. I don't know if that's actually true or not. They're maybe exaggerating a little bit. But this way they can give every student a copy to take home. And even if it's, admitted, obviously the legit copies are going to be more expensive. So even if it's not one for every classroom, even if 3 or 4 students would be sharing or something like that, it's still obviously better for the students if they each have a copy they can take home. In an impoverished company or a relatively impoverished country like Guyana, that is going to be very difficult to do the more traditional way. So what's the ethics here? Where do we draw the line? When does piracy become acceptable? When do you just do without? There's a lot of issues here, and this case really highlights it, because as much as I want the children to have the books, I see both sides of the coin. Someone at some point has to invest the money in making these books. And there are no easy answers for how this happens. This is one of the reasons why I really don't like dealing with copyright in educational environments. It's because of these exact type of ethical questions. And I don't have an answer today. I'm not giving you an answer today. I'm sorry. If you've got answers, comments below. Seriously, fill it out. Leave me what you think. I'd love to hear it. Video responses, anything. Go for it. Go crazy. I want to hear your ideas and your thoughts. But this is the type of ethical challenge, and this is why, frankly, I steer clear of ethics on plagiarism today. So I'm over my time. I seem to be always over my time. So until tomorrow, this is Jonathan Bailey signing off. And actually, it's Monday.